The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Well, hello everyone. This is Dennis Kaye with Belize Islands Real Estate. I'd like to welcome all of you to the webinar today and give you a very big thanks for attending. I know this is going to be an hour out of your day, and I promise that I would do my best to make it educational, informative, and hopefully at the end you'll learn something about Belize that you didn't know before. So it is, let's see, 1 o'clock Eastern Time on the dot. And out of respect for those who are still trying to log in, why don't we give them another minute or two before we officially begin. I find that sometimes with the GoToWebinar platform, some don't realize that they have to download an app or their computer has to do a quick reboot before it lets them into the webinar. So let's just give them a minute. But while everybody's getting settled in, I'd like to do a sound check, make sure my technical things are working properly. And also, I just noticed that my screen is not showing my presentation. So let's get that up. It's always good to get these bugs worked out early in the, there we go. All right, so everybody can see my first slide there. Has me with the my name and of course a couple of the TV shows I did. Speaking of which, if you haven't already done so, you can check out these shows. House Hunters International. I was involved in shooting an episode on Ambergris Caye with them. Really cool. Had a great time, a lot of fun, and also several episodes of the show called Live Here Buy This, which is also a HDTV production. So I worked with them shooting on Ambergris Caye, shooting in various parts of the mainland, and actually it was a lot of fun, and it's really helped get the word on Belize out there, especially to those who watch these types of shows. So let's see, it is about 1 minute in, going on 2 minutes in. Let's do me a favor. I'm going to launch a quick poll, and as I do, I'm going to tell you the reason why. I host these live events for a multitude of different types of viewers. Some are already owners, they're clients of mine, or clients of other agents on island who currently own property in Belize. So what they do is they tune in to get the latest and greatest news coming out of Belize. But I also have a good number of people that are right on the cusp of purchasing. They tune in to see what's new and what's driving the real estate market, what new areas are opening up. And then others are just starting to get to know me. Maybe they saw me post an ad on Facebook or one of my Google AdWords advertising. So what I like to do is just find out where everybody is tuning in from. And if you would, just go ahead and vote. And that way I know how to tailor these webinars moving forward. So in the future, I might do one just for existing clients, or one just for newbies, or ones who are just looking for the latest and greatest deals that they want to pull the trigger on. So if you would, just please go ahead and vote. And once I see the numbers there start to stabilize, I'll close the poll down and I'll go from there. All right, very good. Close the poll. All right, excellent. Excellent. Well, again, thank you very much. This is Dennis Kaye. I am not coming to you live from Belize. I am coming to you live from Chamonix. My wife and I are on a week-long holiday in the French Alps, and it is absolutely beautiful here. This looks nothing like the Belize Barrier Reef, but it is stunningly beautiful. And so what we did is we came down here to this beautiful part of France. So we are enjoying daily walks in the mountains and having fun. But tonight I am coming to you live because I like to keep this regular, and because I know you are counting on this information to make some buying decisions coming up here in the near future. So I'm going to keep this webinar to about an hour and 10 minutes long. And then I'm going to sign off, light this fireplace here, and have a glass of wine and enjoy the rest of my evening. But my goal for this webinar is twofold. First of all, like I mentioned, I'm looking for those who are looking at Belize as a possible retirement destination or a place to own a vacation home. That makes up the bulk of my clientele. However, there's another part of my business that really deals with financial investors. So they're looking to invest in Belize through real estate, and they might not really have a desire to even come to the island or to spend any time in Belize itself, but they realize that there are significant advantages to investing offshore in a country like Belize in very particular types of real estate. And so what I do is I like to educate both clientele on these webinars, and then you tell me later which category you fall into. It could be one or the other, or maybe both. What I want to do in this webinar is just go through these 4 things in order. I'm going to give a quick review of last week's key market drivers. So in case you missed the webinar last week, I'm just going to give a very, very quick 5 to 7 minute overview of that as it relates to real estate prices now and in the future. I'm also going to relate some new announcements and how they affect real estate values. I'm going to go through some special webinar property deals. I've identified 2 properties that I think are very, very good opportunities for someone attending the webinar today. And then finally, I'm going to go into in-depth question and answers based on the emails you sent me yesterday and also live questions that you pose during the webinar today. So look forward to hearing from you all. Before I continue, is everybody hearing me okay? Can you hear my voice? Is it coming through? If you would, just type in yes in the questions. Good. All right. Very good. Thank you, Lynn. I really appreciate that. All right. Good. So everything's working well. Well, last week, I highlighted a couple of very key market drivers that we've identified, especially for the island of Ambergris Caye, Belize. And I know that many of you attending today are interested in Ambergris Caye. If you are interested in other parts of Belize, that's fine. A lot of this information will apply to those areas too. But my main focus has always been Ambergris Caye because in reality, that's where most buyers, most investors, most vacation homeowners, retirees eventually end up for multiple reasons. So I'm going to go through these things quickly. The 2017 tourism stats, the cruise ship tourism stats, and how Harvest Caye is impacting the Belizean real estate market, and also an announcement regarding Mahogany Bay Village, the grand opening, and the ripple effect it's having, and that started yesterday with the ribbon cutting. So let's just quickly go through what we talked about last week. We took a look at these numbers from the Belize Tourism Board that the overnight arrivals from January through September of 2016 versus those same months in 2017 are way up. Now here's a breakdown of the way the numbers looked month by month, January through December. If you notice there on the left-hand side of your screen, we have the percentage of change from 2015 to 2016, and that was a 13.0% increase in tourism. If you look on the right-hand side of the slide, you see that the change so far, just in the first 9 months of 2017, has been an 8.6% increase. But you notice October and December of last year were very significant in the number of overnight guests that arrived to Belize. And so we really expect this 8.6 number to grow drastically. And we're going to see that number released probably in January, February of 2018. But this is very significant for us because tourism is a leading marker for us. In other words, people come to the country, they spend the night, they vacation here, they end up falling in love with where they stay, and that translates into a certain percentage of them wanting to buy and move forward with a purchase, either while they're on island or perhaps when they leave, get their finances in order, and then come back. So that's very, very important for us. What we also talked about last week is the significance of the cruise ship visitor. Now, cruise ship visitors typically only spend 4 to 8 hours in the country of Belize, but it is oftentimes a first exposure to them. And now, since they opened up Harvest Caye, this beautiful private island in the south part of the country, just off the coast of Placencia, we see that for the first time, cruise ship visitors are able to get a first beautiful look at the country of Belize, rather than going into Belize City as its main port hub, which is often dangerous, dirty, not attractive for the most part. And so now it's really, to me, it's very exciting because now we're going to see the ripple effect of Harvest Caye and what it does for the real estate market in Belize over the next 12, 18, 24 months. And I'm very excited to see what that does for us. Here's the slides on the cruise ship numbers. You notice on this one, you see a lot of red mixed in there. So we had some months that was an increase in tourism. Some months there was a decrease. But overall, you see the number at the bottom there, cruise ship tourism is going up in Belize. And that's very, very good news for us. If you missed last week's webinar, again, go back and see it. I posted some beautiful pictures of Harvest Caye, which is what you see now. And then oops, let me just get the slides going here. There we go. There's a little bit of a delay. And I talk more about how this is impacting the market even 100 miles away on the island of Ambergris Caye, Belize. Along with that, we talked about key flights added, WestJet, opening up the Canadian market for us even greater, flying direct to Belize from Calgary, and Air Canada flying direct from Toronto to Belize. So those are very, very exciting announcements. Also, we talked about the grand opening of Mahogany Bay Village, and as of yesterday, that has been accomplished. So excellent news for the island of Ambergris Caye. This is the first major branded hotel project in the country. It is now a Hilton Curio Collection resort property. It is absolutely stunning. Doors are open. Guests arrived for the first time today. It has many restaurants. It has its own beach club. As you can see in these pictures, it has a very cool, laid back, sort of like a Florida Key type look to it. And what they're doing is they're not just selling properties, they're selling a beautiful lifestyle. So you can come and spend the night just on vacation, but you can also invest in the project itself, and you can buy things such as townhomes, single family homes, and all be a part of the Hilton Curio Collection project. So if you're interested in that, and you would like to get in on one of the discovery weekends that they do, let me know. I'll send you the information. Make sure you're pre-qualified because the barrier to entry is a little higher in this project, and then we can go from there. Let me just scroll through a couple more pictures here just so you get an idea of what it looks like. Beautiful interiors. A lot of the furniture is made right here in Belize. This is their beach club. The next slide. So this is their private beach club located on the waters of Ambergris Bay, right across from Cayo Espanto. Just a beautiful white sand beach, excellent sunsets, and they really, really knocked it out of the park with this one. So I'm so excited for those who are coming as overnight guests, but more excited for what this does for the island in terms of recognition, getting good quality places for visitors to stay, which always translates into increased real estate values and a better investment market. And here's finally one picture of the ribbon cutting yesterday. We have the Mayor, Danny Guerrero, the Minister of Tourism there, and just a really, really beautiful event. So now let's switch gears because many of you did attend last week. So sorry about the long-winded overview, but for those who didn't, maybe you appreciated it. This week, I have some more exciting news on how these next three announcements impact the real estate market on the island. Number one, Wyndham Grand. So this announcement came out in the spring, but we're just now starting to study the significance of it. Wyndham Grand is going to brand the Venezia del Mar property as one of its own major luxury hotel brands. And this is very, very exciting, especially due to its location right between Cocoa Beach, Belize and Belizean shores. We'll get into that in a minute. I also want to talk to you about Brahma Blue and then go into those other specific questions you had. But first of all, let's kind of explore the Wyndham Grand announcement. Wyndham Grand Ambergris Caye, Belize, owned by Venezia del Caribe Limited, and is a development by Sandy Point Developments Limited, will be the first resort in Belize to fly the Wyndham Grand flag. Now, what does this mean? Well, for those of you who are not familiar with Ambergris Caye, there are a few key developers who really have done a fantastic job at creating good subdivisions or good completed projects such as condo projects, housing communities, things like that. And the Sandy Point development has been one of those outstanding developers rather. They have created Cocoa Beach, which is one of the top resorts on Ambergris Caye, very luxurious, very high-end, has a really cool feel to it, incredible pools. They also developed Belizean Shores, which is just to the north of it. So in between these two very successful resorts is now going in the Wyndham Grand Ambergris Caye. So this is very, very exciting. Here's a artist rendition of what it's going to look like. You see it has 4- and 5-story buildings, all along a Venice theme architecture. So you have very shallow pools, you have gondolas taking you from one place to another. You also have what looks to be like a copy of the Rialto Bridge. So a really, really unique island feel. And this is currently under construction. This is a an actual photo. The next photo you're going to see here is a photo of it being constructed. So looking from from west to east out over the barrier reef. So the barrier reef is out there, that little white line you see at the top of the screen. So the building you see right in front and the building you see to the left, those are the two beachfront buildings. And behind, what you can't see are other buildings under construction that are well along, just like these two beachfront ones are. So this is pretty exciting for us. Paulo Pena, he is the president and managing director for the Latin America and Caribbean for Wyndham Hotel Group. He said that Belize is emerging as an area of interest on travelers' bucket list. He said, thanks to its pristine beaches, celebrated culture, and continuous recognition as a must-visit destination by respected sources like the New York Times, Lonely Planet, and U.S. News and World Report. So they're very, very bullish on the island. They see what's happening and they want it to be a part of it. So this is very, very good news for us. And then he went on to say, with overnight visitors hitting a record high in Belize last year, Pena states that they have been seeing an increased demand for first-class, high-end hotel experiences in destinations like Ambergris Caye, Belize. So again, very, very excited. Here's another artist rendition of this project, and we are excited to see it complete, open for business, and what it does to the market, especially in this part of the island, because its impact is going to be immediate. Some projects come on board and they take a long time to really see any results. This will have an immediate impact on the island, and here's why. The clientele that they are bringing in who will fill up these rooms enjoy upscale living, a luxury hotel experience. They can afford to get to Ambergris Caye with the family. Money's not an issue for them, and they can afford to spend a very high nightly rate on a hotel because they're willing to pay for that experience. These types of clientele are also the kind who see the value of investing in Belize and who often, more often than not, turn out to be our buyers. Especially exciting for us is the location. Where they're located on North Ambergris Caye. There's a paved road leading from San Pedro town all the way to the resort. And the good news is, for my investors now looking at this and knowing about this, is the opening date is not till December of next year. So 1 year away. And I would say it's probably even a year and 3 months, year and 4 months, knowing how Belize goes. There's always little delays here and there. But what that means is we have this massive project ready to open up and turn on the key to a flood of high-end potential buyers of Belizean real estate. And to my investors now, they can get in on the game in key areas and select properties ahead of where the turning of the key and the opening up of this resort. And so that's really where the money is. If you can get in before something happens and at a good price, then you just ride the wave as prices rise because of developments like this. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Ambergris Caye, take a look at this next slide. This gives a little Google Earth shot showing a plot map overlay of all the plots on Ambergris Caye that have been subdivided. You see that Venezia del Caribe, Wyndham Grand is on the right-hand side. So that's the ocean side, the east side of the island. And again, you can see the Belize Barrier Reef there running from north to south. It's that white line. And then if you look over to your left, you see Secret Beach. If you've been following me in my webinars for any length of time, you know I'm very bullish on Secret Beach. It's a new up-and-coming area of Ambergris Caye, and you can see that there is a road that connects the east side of the island, just north of the Wyndham Grand, going over to the west side, dead ending at Secret Beach. So we have high-end clientele staying at a brand new luxury resort. Oftentimes they're on golf carts looking for an afternoon on a beach somewhere to go. I guarantee you that most people that stay here will end up at Secret Beach, at least to hang out for a few hours, swim in the waters, eat at the bar and grill, and explore that area. And when they do, I guarantee you we're going to see a lot of additional buyers come from this sort of clientele. So what I like to liken it to is the old funnel example. We have a funnel on Ambergris Caye that restricts overnight guests. and it's very, very small. We only have about 2,000 or 2,200 hotel rooms. And so when new hotel rooms do come online, for example, this year, today or yesterday, we just had the Mahogany Bay Village Curio Collection, Hilton Curio Collection open up. That's now going to open up that funnel a bit, again, with high-end quality clientele that will translate into quality buyers. And when the Wyndham Grand opens up, again, this will open up that funnel a bit more, but not with a budget-minded traveler, but with a high-end traveler, which is very, very exciting for an island like Ambergris Caye, much like you would expect to see if you went to the Grand Caymans or St. John or St. Thomas, somewhere like in these upscale Caribbean islands. Now, the next announcement that I wanted to make you aware of is Brahma Blue at Costa del Sol. Now, many of you who are familiar with the island may have heard of Brahma Blue. This was a project started in 2006 by a very nice couple, Ruby and Sunny Betty. Very, very nice. Canadians, got to know them very well when they lived on an island. They built their little dream property and named it Brahma Blue. It was first opened in 2008. Now, unfortunately, this was one of the projects that the recession of 2008 did affect, and unfortunately they had to close their doors. They lost the property, and they ended up moving off island. It was very, very sad, because when I show you pictures of Brahma Blue, you're going to say, wow, that's really incredible. Well, it took several years for the recession to bounce back enough to affect the Costa del Sol area of Ambergris Caye, Belize. Since about 2008, 2009 till now, this area has sat sort of dormant. A lot of unfinished buildings, unfinished projects over there. And really, it was concerning to people who went by those projects, and they would often ask me and other realtors, hey, what's that over there? We say, yeah, it's a project that didn't work out. And that puts a little bit of fear in the minds of people, because it breeds a lack of confidence to see an unfinished project on the island when they themselves are perhaps buying into a project that is not yet finished or is just taking off, or maybe they're offering pre-construction discounts, things like this. There are protections in place now that we didn't have back then to protect buyers even more. But here at Brahma Blue, I was just so happy to see that another Canadian group has purchased the resort and they have it up and running. It is open for business. And so if you go online right now, you can actually book overnight stays at Brahma Blue. You can see the building here. It's an excellent 4-story building, 100% made out of concrete, built to withstand just about anything nature can throw at it. Very, very strong, very tough, but also has a very cool architectural feel to it. Here is a view of the upper 4th floor penthouse overlooking the waters of Ambergris Bay. It has a nice outdoor deck on there with an outdoor bed, jacuzzi, just a beautiful, beautiful property. Now, this property only has 14 condos with the 2 incredible penthouses. Now, I'm not selling these. I'm not pitching these. This is not my listing. I have no vested interest in telling you about this, other than how it ties in with something on the island that is going very well, that is now drawing people to perhaps a different part of the island they haven't explored yet. So now that they're starting to explore the Costa del Sol area. Remember what I said last week. My clients and clients in general tend to buy Belizean real estate where they experience their vacation. And I've seen this time and again. So if they stay up by Cocoa Beach, they'll end up buying up there. If they stay down south, they'll buy there. If they stay on the west side, they'll buy there. So those now who are coming over to Brahma Blue to spend the night, enjoy their vacation, will most likely look for real estate in that general area to invest in. And so that's what we got to watch out for. That's a lead indicator for us. And so what we're going to do now is start to look at potential areas around there that we can find some good deals. I'll be working on that in the next several weeks. What I want to transition to now, just very briefly, is the recent sales we had in the past 7 days. You know, many of you who watch these webinars have come back and emailed me and said, you know, do I really sell the properties that I pitch that I consider to be good deals on these webinars? Well, here are some actual facts, because another one of you emailed me just last night and said that you're frustrated because there's no MLS in Belize, so you don't know what's sold, at what price, in what area, and all you can do is just sort of guess based on listings you see on the internet. So what I like to do now as a regular feature moving forward is just tell you what I sold or what has been sold in the past 7 days, so you know exactly what's going on. So what sold from last week's webinar? Well, we had that beachfront lot that was reduced from $95,000 to $88,000. If you remember, that had free and clear title. It was facing Cayo Rosario and Blacador Caye. It could be purchased with private funds, your own money, or funds available in your IRA. We are happy to say that one fortunate client bought that property with cash using money he already had in his IRA. So that was excellent. Good deal for him. He's not only buying it as an investment, but as a potential to build on. Now, as a reminder, here's where that property is located. So you see Secret Beach down there on the lower left-hand side where the yellow pin is. And up 1.14 miles is parcel 8460, Ambergris Bay. That's the parcel that sold. And here is a little bit of a close-up shot of that. You can see it there facing the beautiful waters to the west of Ambergris Bay. Beautiful sandy beaches, just a gorgeous property. So I'd like to congratulate the owner on that. Also, in the same general area, another webinar special sold. This was also a beachfront lot. This one sold for $75,000. Not only is it a beachfront lot, but it was also in a little bit of a protected bay. This lot sold with financing. So we had a client who preferred to finance rather than pay cash. We worked out a deal with the seller and he was able to purchase this property. And here is a Google Earth shot of where that is. So right where the arrow dead ends, that's parcel 8460 or 8450 rather, and that sold as well. So congratulations to those two property owners. Those did sell. Now, this week's webinar specials, what I want to do just very quickly is go through the two properties that I've identified that I feel are worth taking a look at, because many of you are looking to pull the trigger and you're looking to do so sooner rather than later. So what I have is a commercial/residential lot very close to Secret Beach. It's a third row property, corner lot, and you can put a single family home here. You can put a very, very small duplex or triplex, or it would work good as a property that you want to have a commercial component to. So maybe some sort of cafe, restaurant, bar, something like that. Really cool property. It has fee simple title, full ownership. It's in the path of progress, and the webinar special is this. It's priced at $64,000 right now, and the seller would take $55,000 for it. Cash deal only, no financing available on this one. His wife is experiencing some health problems, very legitimately. I know them very well. They're very good friends of mine. In fact, so he needs the cash. So it's $55,000 cash. He's willing to knock $9,000 off the purchase price to make that happen to one of my webinar attendees. As far as exact location goes, if you take a look at this next slide, you see it's just about a quarter mile north of Secret Beach. So you see it there in the red circle with the red arrow. That is the third row corner lot. In fact, what I did too is just to show you how close it is. It is 0.23 miles from the Secret Beach Belize Bar and Grill. So again, excellent area, very close to the water. In fact, because of the wide road that's surveyed just to the north of it, if you do build on that lot, you're going to have a nice view corridor right down that road, right out unobstructed views right out to Ambergris Bay, Cayo Rosario, Blacador Caye, and make a beautiful location for a single family home. And for those of you who are just wondering, who haven't been to Belize and hear me talk about Secret Beach, this is a picture of it. This is the Secret Paradise Beach Bar and Grill. So these are the beautiful swimming waters of Ambergris Bay, and there is a lot of new activity and new businesses going on in this area. There's a new boutique bed and breakfast. There's several restaurants, several beach bars, new homes going up all up and down this part of the island. And so those who can get here and invest in here now, especially before some of the bigger market drivers that we talked about start coming into play, you do very, very well. Here's a nice drone video, or drone aerial shot rather, of Secret Beach. I see those crystal clear waters, just a beautiful place to go. And the other lot I have for you is a main road commercial lot. It is located just about 1.5 blocks back from the water, right on the main road that dead ends at Secret Beach. So right now, there's one road that runs from east to west, and all traffic that comes over to Secret Beach has to go on this main road. The price listed is $79,479. Don't ask me why. That's just what the seller wanted to list it as, so we did that. But for this webinar special, he'll drop the price to 75,000 US. Now this property does come with owner carry financing, so you can put a very low amount down, make monthly payments. The details can be worked out between you and the seller depending on how long you need the financing for. But here's an aerial view showing the exact location of parcel 8793. So you see that blue line there, that is the main road that dead ends right at the Grand Belizean Estates dock. You can see many of the businesses there that have been built. In fact, more have gone in since this picture was taken. But parcel number 8793 is good because not only is it a great commercial spot, but it's also a very large lot. It's 100 feet by 100 feet, and this is about 70% larger than the standard size lots in this subdivision. So nice size lot, very good price, and also a very good investment for those who are looking to buy and hold, sell in the future. Just an outstanding location. Here is a view of the lot taken from the ground. So you can see it's high and dry. It's got nice trees on it. Of course, all those trees would come down once you went to build, but it does show the quality of the lot. And then here's the government issued parcel map, which shows the exact location compared to the beach. So on the left-hand side, you see the blue there, the light blue, that's the water, that's Secret Beach. Then the dark blue line represents the main road. And then you have in red, the lot highlighted 8793. Again, good commercial location, very good price at $75,000 US. Now, for those of you who are able to purchase through one of my webinars, I can offer you also some very unique opportunities. For example, Froylan Alvarado is a fantastic architect that I recommend all of my clients work with if you are planning to build your own home or planning to have your own home built on the island of Ambergris Caye, Belize. He's a fantastic architect who knows all about materials, foundations, using septic, how to capture the ocean breezes, how to minimize heat from the sun. There's all sorts of neat little tips and tricks. And if you work with him, he can design you a fantastic house. And also what I can do is send you a complete set of house options in this style of coastal living. So much like the housing plans that you saw down in Mahogany Bay Village, these types of homes work very well for the island. They're very reasonable to build, and they really have a unique island feel. So I can give you both of those. So again, just to recap, there's two properties that I recommend that are webinar specials for this week on December 7th, 2017. They are the third row corner lot for $55,000 and the prime residential commercial property for $75,000. Now, switching gears a bit. Yesterday, I emailed you, many of you, a question because I had about 10 to 15 minutes in the webinar that I needed to fill because an announcement that I was going to make, I can't do it yet because of legal reasons, so I'm going to hold off for a week. But many of you emailed me your questions and what you were thinking about when it comes to Belize. So your pros, cons, concerns, worries, things like that. So now what I want to do is go through some of those, but at the same time, I want to take live questions as we go through some of these. So if you have a question related to one of these, please just put it in the question box and I will answer it as we go through live. So let's see. Okay, there we go. So one of the biggest questions I've been getting is regarding the cost of living, and kind of lumped in with that is taxes. So the biggest question I get is, what is the cost of living in Belize? Well, that varies tremendously. That's like saying, what is the cost of living in New York State? Are you talking about Manhattan or upstate New York and the countryside? There's a big difference between living in the jungle without any services and amenities or roads or anything like that, and living on an upscale island like Ambergris Caye, Belize. But what I've done is I created a PDF that details what an average American expat might spend per month living on the island of Ambergris Caye, Belize. And the cost of living goes through things like how much is rent, how much is electricity, things like this, how much is food, but also there's other things that come into play there, such as healthcare, vehicles, things like that. And really, when you ask me about the cost of living, I need to ask you a question back. Is it high or low compared to what? And also compared to how you live. Because if you're used to a very simple lifestyle in the US or Canada, you can come down to Belize and live very simply on a very, very reasonable budget. However, if you're used to a little bit higher standard of living in the U.S., well, the same thing is going to apply to Belize. You're not going to come down to Belize and pinch pennies and pinch quarters and try to save here and there. And so your lifestyle is going to dictate how much it costs to live in Ambergris Caye. So let me know if you want me to email you that PDF by sending me an email after this webinar. I'll email it to you, and then I'll go through a lot of the specifics. Also, what you need to look at is your monthly versus your annual expenses. And here is why. Your monthly bill, so to speak, or your monthly budget for living on Ambergris Caye, if you add up just the very simple bills that you might pay, your cable, that's I think $20 a month. Your electricity, that can run from 50 to 300, just depending on if you use the air conditioner a lot or if you like the ocean breezes instead. Your golf cart, you're going to spend probably $25 a month in gas for your golf cart. Your insurance on the golf cart is something like $10 a month. You're not going to have any car payment. You're not going to have any car insurance, things like that. So you have these monthly expenses, which can be very low. But then if you have family in the United States or friends and you plan on going back to see them once a year, and then probably maybe one other time a year you have a wedding to go to or a graduation or something like that, then you have annual expenses. And what people forget sometimes is to add in those annual expenses. Oh, cousin Bob's getting married and I really need to go. Well, that can be, a $1,000 plane ticket, and if you got a family of four, that's $4,000 plus hotel rooms. So what used to cost you nothing to drive to cousin Bob's wedding is now costing you, $4,000 or $5,000. So it's those types of annual expenses that you need to consider if you're coming down to Belize full-time or part-time. And also, look at the last bullet point on this slide. Ask yourself, am I actually going to retire to the island? Whereas I'm going to sell off everything in the state, so no real estate, no car, no American health insurance is needed. I'm going to truly be an expat like Steph and I did. Well, if you do that, then you greatly reduce a lot of the expenses that you would have in trying to keep two separate lives going. So you don't have two properties, two payments, two HOA fees, things like this, two cars. You have one set in Belize. You eliminate the set in the United States or Canada, and now, of course, your cost of living is much cheaper. Not many do that, mind you. Most are snowbirds. They come back and forth. But if you're asking me what is the cost of living, you're probably looking to save money. And so if so, that PDF will help. Now, closely tied in with this are the real estate taxes, because this kind of goes hand in hand with the cost of living. So many of you were asking me last night about property taxes, on land versus homes, your rental income tax, stamp tax, which there's been a change on. In this webinar, I'm going to talk about that change, and capital gains taxes. So let's just kind of go through here one by one. First of all, property taxes. I don't know where you live in the States, but property taxes can be a significant amount each year, depending on the value of your home and what state you live in. In Belize, property taxes average on vacant land from about $75 to $100 a year. That's US dollars. So $75 to $100 US per year on vacant land. Beachfront lots tend to go to around $150 US dollars per year. And then if you build a home on it, your home taxes per year for property taxes will be between $250,000 and $300,000. And maybe on your very high-end homes, you can see as high as $450 per year. Now, what I mean by high-end is there's a house for sale right now on the east side of Ambergris Caye. I think it's priced at $2.7 million, and I believe the property taxes are $450,000 or $450 a year on a $2.7 million home. So property taxes are very low. So think about that as you plan your move down to Belize. Property taxes, almost not a major factor in your buying decision. Now, what about rental income tax? Well, let's say you rent out your home or your condo to vacationers. So you come down, you use it 6 months a year, you rent it out the other 6 months. What is your tax due to the Belize government on that rental income? Well, here's the good news. It's 1.7%. 1.7% of the gross nightly rental rate. So you rent your place for $100 a night, you owe $1.70 to the Belizean government. That's their tax. That's it. So again, pretty insignificant. Now, where there has been a big change is in stamp tax. Stamp tax is a tax paid by the buyer of any property. It can be land, a condo, or a home. And this tax paid by the buyer is paid to the government of Belize, and it is based on the purchase price of the property. So, as an example, you buy a property for $110,000. The government allows you a $10,000 credit. So take $110,000 minus $10,000. On the $100,000 price, we pay 8% in stamp tax to the Belizean government. It used to be 5%. Now they changed it. From local to local transfers, it's 5%. From Americans buying from locals, it is now 8%. Any American transaction, American from local, 8% in stamp tax. Now you realize that can be a significant amount of money if you're buying a property that's several $100,000. And you might think, wow, that is a lot. And it is. But here's the thing. We got to look at the country of Belize itself and how it supports itself and maintains and grows its infrastructure. The rental income tax is very, very low, 1.7%. The income tax for most Belizeans and Americans who actually are working in Belize, have a Belizean job, their tax is sometimes 5, 6, 7% of their income. Very, very low. So when you look at where the tax does come to the government to pay for things such as police service, fire department, air rescues, things like that, plus the putting in of roads and infrastructure and the new utilities, everything like that, it all has to come from somewhere. And so where it comes from is the stamp tax. Now, the good news is that's a one-time fee that you pay when you purchase a property, but then you get the benefits from there on out of low property taxes, low other fees, things such as that, and there are no capital gains taxes in Belize. So you buy a property for $100,000, you sell for $200,000. In Belize, you pay 0 capital gains taxes. So excellent news, and this kind of goes in with your question about the cost of living. So just as a recap, property taxes, $100 to $450 a year, depending on if it's land or high-end single-family home. Rental income tax, 1.7% on the gross nightly rate. Stamp tax, 8% of the purchase price. Capital gains tax, 0. Moving on to the stamp tax land versus home. The reason I wanted to bring this out is because many of you have asked me why I'm so bullish on vacant land and why I never pitch condos and single family homes. Well, I actually do. I have some condos right now that I think are fantastic buys, but for most of my clients, they're looking for a first initial purchase and they want to start small and grow from there. So land is a good place, but also buying land and having a house built saves you a significant amount of money, not just in the cost of the home itself, but also as it applies to stamp tax. As an example, let's say you buy a beachfront vacant lot now for $125,000. Your stamp tax, again, paid to the U.S. government is $9,000, or excuse me, I'm getting, sorry guys, getting ahead of myself. Paid to the Belizean government is $9,200. All right, so you pay that. If you were to buy a home, existing home, built on a piece of beachfront, which averages $650,000 right now on Ambergris Caye, your stamp tax is $51,200. So you can see, of course, it's a much different purchase. You're going from $125 to $650. We get it, but you can see the difference in the stamp tax alone. So let's say you purchased a beachfront lot for $125. You can easily have a beautiful home built on it for $150, $200. If you want to get really fancy, $300. Again, your total all in at that price is going to be what, $325, $450, significantly less than $650. Plus, you've paid a very small amount of stamp tax because remember, that's only paid on the property itself, not on the house that you built afterward. So very, very significant. Another question that came up was regarding property rights and protections. So several people asked, what are my property rights? They've come across some information on the internet where somebody has lost their home or lost their property. Well, first of all, let me tell you something. That may have happened, but it is extremely, extremely rare. And most of the time, there's two sides to the story, and there's a side you haven't heard about that yet. Because most of the time, if you purchase a property through a realtor in Belize and you go through an approved closing company, they do an extensive title check to make sure that title is free and clear, so that when you get title, that is your property. Now, where people have gotten themselves into trouble and have lost things are at times when they purchase properties that weren't properly titled. And I see them try to sidestep the process. They don't go through a closing company. They try to get the local discount, so to speak. So they'll go right to somebody who's involved in some shady real estate deals. They think they're saving a buck, but in the end, it ends up turning around and biting them in the butt because they didn't properly go through the channel. So I'm not saying you have to go through me. If you buy through me, fine. But whatever you buy, go through a reputable, established real estate agent who does this for a living. And in addition, go through a very reputable closing company. We use Belize Key Investments on the island of Ambergris Caye, Belize. They have a local office right in the middle of San Pedro. They process hundreds and hundreds of titles each year. And going through someone like that will eliminate at least 90% of your worries and concerns. Now, here's another thing. The Belizean government actually backs up your right as a property owner. So, for instance, if you buy one of the properties I have listed that comes with free and clear title, let's say 2 years down the line, 5 years down the line, somebody's uncle comes out of left field and says, you know what, that's my property because my grandfather gave me that property and here's the paperwork to prove it. All right. If you have land certificate in your possession with your name or your company name on that, the government of Belize will guarantee that that property is yours, that it will not revert back to somebody who has claimed it. And what they'll do is they'll act, if there is some sort of real dispute, let's say somehow in some fashion, two titles got issued for the same property and it was just some weird mistake, the government of Belize will solve the matter by giving one or other party a property that is equal to the one that you are now losing. So that might be a property next door, a property in a better area, but it has to be a win-win for both parties. Like I said, I have very rarely seen this happen because the government of Belize is very meticulous. When they issue a title, it's been thoroughly documented, thoroughly researched, and then they go ahead and they guarantee property ownership. And the reason they do this is because they realize that in order to keep the investment coming in, the investment money coming in from United States and Canada, they need secure property ownership laws and protections. And that's what they have done. Now, the second thing on this slide is talking about strata title or shares in a corporation. This is different than the Registered Lands Act land certificate title. Strata title applies to condos. So you have a building with, let's say, 6 condominiums in it. Each condominium will have its own title. It's called a strata title. Or it might have shares in a corporation. So for instance, that 6-unit condominium building might not be broken up into 6 separate titles, but the owners will collectively own the company that owns it. So let's say 6 owners, they'll all own a portion of the company, depending on how large their condo is or things like that. So collectively, they will own it in a corporation. That's the way Belizean Shores is set up, whereas other places like Grand Caribe have gone with the strata title. But again, you are protected by having actual ownership of either the strata title or the shares in the corporation. Now, let me just go back to some of these property rights and protections cautions. So you need to ask the question, has the title been issued on this property I am looking to buy, and is it free and clear? Do not fall for the trap of some developer telling you that he has subdivision approval. That doesn't mean anything. All that means is that he submitted some plans to the government and that they have said, yes, you may go ahead and subdivide this property into these lots and sizes as you have presented to us. That does not mean that these properties actually have title. So here is where some people have gotten burned, especially on the mainland. They've gone into some big developments that had a lot of fancy pictures on the internet. They were promised title because they had subdivision approval. They gave the companies hundreds of thousands of dollars for their lots, ended up losing them because they never were able to get title in hand. So very, very sad, but be careful of that. Whatever you buy, make sure it has free and clear title. Now, if you're buying in a pre-construction project, you also need to be a little careful. Here's a way you can protect yourself regarding those. Number one is ask the question, what reputation does the developer have in Belize? Not just in general, because many developers in the United States and Canada have excellent success in those countries because they know what they're doing, they've been through it, there are no unknowns or hidden things that can screw them up. In Belize, if it's their first project, beware, because there's always things in Belize that they were not expecting. Delays, higher cost of materials, different things with the development of the property itself, the titling, everything takes longer. So does he have experience in Belize? The reason I'm so bullish on projects like the Wyndham Grand and La Serena Resort all the way down south in the southern tip of the island is because the developers building those projects have a lot of experience building, completing, and opening projects up on the island. So again, if you don't do that, if you just go to some project where a developer has a bunch of pretty pictures and he says, look, here's what I'm going to build, here's the deal I can give you, and you don't do your homework and you start giving him money, that's where you can actually get in trouble and you can actually start to lose. So don't make that mistake. Well, those are some of the main things that I wanted to talk about in this webinar. But again, if you have any questions regarding this or any of the things I've talked about tonight, we have just about 9 minutes left. So please go ahead and just type your questions there in the question box, and I'll take them as they come, at least for the next 9, 10, 11 minutes or so. And we'll go from there. So I noticed we have a lot of people on today that already own property on the north side of Ambergris Caye. So we appreciate that. Appreciate you attending. I hope these updates are good for you and that you enjoyed getting in on the webinar today. And we also see a lot of people online who are looking to purchase soon. So I like to see that. So I appreciate that. So tell you what, while you're getting your questions together, and I'll start to answer those shortly, let me just launch my final poll of the webinar. And again, I do this so I know how to structure my material for my next one. So when you look at this list of options here, please just go ahead and check one or more as they apply to you. Have you been to Ambergris Caye before? Number one, no, but I'm planning a trip down. If so, I'd be happy to make some recommendations for you. Number two, yes, that's why I'm on this webinar. Number three, I'm serious about owning some type of property. Let's chat. That's fine. If you click that, we can set up a Skype call in the near future or just communicate by email if you want for a while. Or number four, nah, this doesn't seem like it's for me, but thanks anyway. So if you would, just go ahead and vote on that. And on this one, what I'd like to do is just show you the results of the poll so you can see who is online today. And then I'll get to answering your questions. So go ahead, just type them there in the question box, and as they come up, I'll start to answer them. All right, I'll close the poll out, share the results. There you go. So you can see 47% of you planning a trip down, 53% have been here before. That's good news. 20% of you attendees are serious about owning some type of property, and 0% nah says it's nah, this doesn't sound like it's for me, but thanks anyway. Excellent. Very, very good. All right, so let's get to some questions. So let's see. All right, so Mike has a question. Will you talk about the advantages and disadvantages of purchasing on Ambergris Caye compared to the mainland between Hopkins and Placencia, specific to the reserve project in this area? All right, very good. So I'll answer this, Mike, from my personal experience. First of all, most of my clientele are looking for a destination in Belize that offers them a relaxed place to be. So they want to get away from the hustle and bustle of North American life. So they are looking for more relaxed areas of the country. And that's why they like Belize, because it's very laid back. But in addition to that, most of them still want to have a bit of civilization thrown in there. So they want the restaurants, they want the access to diving and fishing and things like that. They want to be able to go out for a nice glass of wine, get dressed up, do things like that. And what they find is that some of these areas, like the reserve and the sanctuary, and some of these other places located in the southern part of the country between Hopkins and Placencia, is just so extremely remote. And what they have down there is they have grand plans, but again, something like that's going to just take so long to come to fruition. I mean, you look at Ambergris Caye, about 7% of it is developed, and it is the major tourism hub for the country of Belize. I mean, most of the overnight guests who fly into the international airport end up in San Pedro. And there's a reason for that, because the access to the reef is literally 400 yards offshore. It has high-end resorts, good eats, a good safe atmosphere, the Caribbean island feel. We all drive golf carts around. When you go down to some of these areas down there, like where Hopkins is, you do have little pockets of beauty, but it is raw. There is nothing around. It is completely desolate. In fact, if anyone has not been down there and think I'm just being biased, go on Google Earth right now, type in Hopkins, Belize, zoom in, and then zoom out, and you see what's around there. There is nothing down there. And most of my clients don't want the hassle of owning a property that is so isolated that they need to have a car to get around and do things on. And to be honest, they just like the quaint feel of Ambergris Caye a lot more. So, my hat's off to these guys who are trying to make a go of it down there. They were able to get large chunks of land fairly cheap. And I know they're selling the heck out of their lots. They have a huge marketing engine behind them. So they're doing a lot of Google AdWords, and they've been seeing on, CNN and Newsweek and things like that. But to be honest, anybody thinking should go down there themselves, check it out, and just see for yourself, because I just don't see it. Maybe Placencia. Placencia town itself has enough sort of going on to interest me, but even then, you're going to get island fever in Placencia way quicker than you will on Ambergris Caye, because there's just not a lot there. And if you like that, feel, by all means, go down and check it out. See the Remax office down there; they'll help you out. But I'm just seeing most of the investment money, the new hotels. 80% of our clients end up buying an Ambergris Caye Belize because that just has the best feel and fit for them. So I hope that answers your question, Mike. And if not, we can get on the phone and talk a little more about that later. So here's a question from Michael. Michael says he lives in the U.S. He wants to live there for a few months out of the year. What kind of visa is required? A perpetual tourist visa? Question mark. That's a good question, Michael. So here's the deal. When you come into the country of Belize as an overnight guest, so either through the international airport or through the Mexican or Guatemalan border, you get your passport stamped with a 30-day visa. So that's what it's stamped for. So you can stay 30 days. If you want to stay past 30 days, you just go into one of the local immigration offices. For instance, we have one right on Ambergris Caye, right in downtown San Pedro. You go up to the desk there. They will look at your passport and give you a stamp for another 30 days for $25 US. And you can do this for 6 months. So you can stay 6 months simply getting your passport stamped every day or every 30 days and pay $25. So very, very easy. So, a lot of my clients who own vacation homes on the island do not actually obtain any sort of residence because it's just not necessary. You can come and go quite freely without having to go through any sort of citizenship or permanent residency card or anything like that. So very, very easy country to immigrate to. All right, here's a question from Bobby. Is there any way we can get a transcript and rewatch the 2 webinars that I presented to show a spouse that was not able to listen or watch? Yes, absolutely. In fact, this webinar is being recorded as we speak by the GoToWebinar platform. As soon as it's done, I will upload it to my YouTube channel, and I'll send out the link to all of the attendees and also those who were not able to attend today because of work or other things. And also the last 2 webinars that I did last week and the week before, those links are already up on my YouTube channel. So you can watch those, no problem at all. All right, here's another question. Curious how to look at property when not in country. Another Michael. All right, so we got a Michael, and another Michael. This is a good question, Michael. So the obvious answer to that would be to buy in a development that has a management company in place. So if you're looking to use something right now, today, you want to buy a finished product, a home, a villa, a condo, something to use right now. And when you leave, you want to just hand the keys to someone and forget about it. Then I would probably encourage you to purchase in a nice development that fits your style. That has sort of the vibe that you like. So whether that be Grand Caribe, Cocoa Beach, the Wyndham, Mahogany Bay Village, Mar-a-Lago Resort properties, things like that. For single family homes, what we do is a couple different things. Number one, if it's in an area that is fairly popular, for instance, in and around Secret Beach, what you would do is you would hire one of the locals who works or lives in that area to manage it for you. So if you're going to use it as a vacation rental, they could do the check-ins and check-outs. They could provide some security, make sure everything's okay. Or for higher end homes, what they usually do is either have like hurricane shutters that roll down and lock, like you see many times in Florida or Texas, where there's a lot of snowbirds, where they just come and go at different times of the year, so that secures it. Or better yet, they have a caretaker who lives right on site. So you might buy a little caretaker's shack, and he would live there, maintain the grounds, take care of the rentals for you, and secure the property that way. So that's what we usually do with single family homes, especially if they're more a bit isolated and out of the way. Having someone on site or having someone look after it really helps to make sure that when you come back, everything's in good working order, and you can just open the door and enjoy. All right, so let's go. All right. Here's a question from Lee. What paperwork would be required to work in Belize? All right, so the question from Lee is, do you need paperwork to work in Belize? Yes, absolutely, you do. And this is a good thing, because what Belize is very protective of is not having locals come in, or excuse me, expats come in and take over locals' jobs. So, for instance, when I moved to Belize, I could not work as a bartender. I could not work as a tour operator. I could not work in other industries like that, because those are jobs that Belizeans do very, very well at. And the Belizean government didn't want me just taking over those jobs from them, simply because I might have a good rapport with other Americans or Canadians. So what Americans and Canadians can do is, when they come down to Belize, they can open up a business. For instance, they can open up a coffee shop, a cafe, a bakery. They can own any number of types of businesses. And as the owner, that serves as their work permit. So they can own that business, work in that business, and so forth. Or they can get some type of job that requires, by way of experience or qualifications, someone that may be a U.S. or Canadian citizen. For example, perhaps a major resort is looking for an on-site CFO or CEO or manager of some sort that takes a very, very high level of experience. Perhaps they could get a job doing something like this. So it is possible, but you have to watch out for some little nuances. So if you want more information on that, I can send you my Belize relocation guide, and I can get you the information. All right, it is 8:02, guys. So I see I have a lot more questions coming in, and I don't have time to answer them all, but I do want to get back to each one of you. So tell you what, if you would, just email me your questions after the webinar, and I promise to get back to you. Probably not tonight, because like I said, it's 8:03 here, and I'm ready to light this fire and have a glass of wine with Steph. But thank you all very, very much for participating today. If you have any questions at all, let me know. And we look forward to seeing you very, very soon. So again, keep in mind, for those of you who are on the cusp of buying and looking for a good investment, I have that third row corner lot and also that prime residential lot. Let me know if you're interested in either one of those, because again, the last properties that I highlighted on these webinars did sell within 7 days. And this is the real deal, and these will sell. So let me know if you want to get in on the game. All right. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. And we will talk to all of you soon. This is Dennis Kaye with Belize Islands Real Estate, saying tropical regards and see you soon. Cheers.